Welcome to the Blue Ocean Solution Podcast, where we feature conversations with innovators and business leaders driving progress in clean tech, construction, and the renewable energy sectors. Our guest is Michael Salorio, the president and CEO of Solentrx. Today, we're going to discuss their exciting launch of his end-to-end AI technology solution for the entire solar industry. Welcome to the podcast, Michael.
Thank you, Kreel. Happy to be here.
Great. So for our audience that may not know, why don't you share a little information about who you are, your role at the company, and what you guys are doing in the marketplace?
Absolutely. So my background actually comes from finance, funny enough. Got my master's at ASU, went back to my hometown in Orange County, did buy-side private equity for a while, and then kind of moved more to the personal management. My role here at Solentrx is kind of the team leadership and overall sales. Our co-founder, Brian Parks, and our current COO really was the visionary for a lot of the outlook of what we're doing. He noticed a lot of the inefficiencies that were going on in the solar industry. And, solar is very much in its infancy. And so we created a complete end-to-end platform for the solar industry. And what I mean by that is most of the world runs on these ERP systems, one-stop shops. And in the solar industry, it was very fragmented. They're using 4 or 5 different platforms to run their business. It creates a lot of inefficiencies, definitely weighs down on people's pockets. And with the advances now with AI and things like that, they haven't really found their way in the marketplace as efficient as they could be. So our software currently, when we launch here, we're doing our hard launch in January of 2026, we'll have the basic front-end CRM, proposal/design tool, back-end finance management, all within the platform. Kind of where we're headed is we'll eventually have that upfront lead management, project management, accounting, things like that. We're more focused on that full experience ERP-like feel. And we're very excited. We've got a lot of great partners and looking forward for the future.
Perfect. So explain a little bit more. How long have you guys been doing what you're doing to get to this point? Is it a couple of years, or what's the buildup look like?
Yeah, so we started kind of the initial due diligence and creating the scope of what we wanted to do back in December-ish of 2023. The hard coding and everything really started February of 2024. And so now we're going to launch kind of back in April of this year, but with some new data sets and API plugins that we have worked with. We decided it was actually better to push the launch to make sure we had the most up-to-date databases and things to make sure that our production numbers and things like that will actually be beneficial for our future customers.
That's great. So basically 2 years in development, and then the hard launch is going to be in January. So does that mean we're in the middle of the soft launch? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we do currently have some beta partners that we're working with that kind of helps us work out a lot of the bugs. We will be soft launching more towards the end of November, early December. And then that official hard launch we're going to be doing it's called Door to Door Con in Salt Lake City and towards the end of January.
Great. So as we talk about your maybe ideal customer or what the biggest problem that they're experiencing in their businesses, how do you guys step in and really alleviate and solve that? And I would even imagine beyond solving it, taking it to the next level of their customer relations and installation, all aspects of their business. So really if you could, do a really clear picture of what that looks like for potential clients.
Yeah. So what's actually interesting about this industry and why we took the approach that we did is we really have 2 customers. We have one who is the EPC and the installer of the solar, and 2, which are the sales dealers who are the ones boots on the ground, door knocking and getting the sale done. A lot of the industry really kind of picked one side or the other of who they wanted to accommodate. And when we took this approach, we said, how can we create the most, streamlined platform for the sales dealer so they can go do their job and focus on selling while providing a platform for the EPC to sit there and run the rest of their business off of. So what we did was, we had our kind of 3 directors, people that we brought into the company kind of about halfway through and said, hey, what is the pain points? And what they told us was there's a lot of tools out there that have great things about them. What we wanted to do was streamline that. And so we created a very user-friendly interface. So when these sales dealers go out there and they're bringing on college kids or people that haven't really been around in the industry, they can train them up very quickly on the software. It's very simple, easy to use. But you still need to have those production numbers and that whole project management piece on the back end. So that way the EPCs and the financing companies can sit there and actually be good with numbers that are coming out. And so we address both of those and created a very simple two-step process to create an AI design for PV and for battery systems that allow for efficiencies on the actual solar production, as well as giving those production numbers that financing companies and EPCs can be very confident in when they go to install and finance.
That's great. So what type of impact do you expect to have both on for your customers, but also on the industry of the renewable energy sector?
So for our customers, obviously giving them a one-stop shop is going to be able to shrink a lot of their budget when it comes to paying for these third-party platforms. But as far as the industry as a whole, we're going to be able to, using data sets and AI, be able to let the customer know how much they're going to be saving based on their current utility plans or even switching their utility plans. And a new thing we're going to be rolling out here shortly too on our launch is actually how to program batteries the proper way. So then that way the client knows how to do that, and the salesperson does. But when for that battery to buy from the grid, sell back to the grid, things like that to actually make it more efficient overall for the solar and be able to provide them the greatest benefit.
The more you talk about this, the more excited I get, both as someone who's an advocate for solar, but also just knowing how efficient things can be. So, with that in mind, what trends are you guys seeing in the industry right now that's really either working to your advantage in bringing this to the marketplace or creating any challenges in doing so?
So, I mean, with obviously the new legislation that kind of rolled out, a lot of people are very hesitant on, solar, where it's going, things like that. What we see is solar in the U.S. is still very much in its infancy compared to the rest of the world, and so it's gonna be here. It's only going to get greater. That's what we see. I mean, people can't be installing nuclear facilities in their backyards, so they're going to have to find this. And with the rise of AI and these data centers, the energy is going to have to come from somewhere. And so we have seen kind of a constriction on the market due to that a big beautiful bill that just came out. But I think as a lot of that legislation gets worked through, we're going to see it becoming more and more popular moving forward. And for us, kind of being this middleman, we want to be able to support that growth and allow for more smaller to medium sized installers to come into the marketplace and have a platform that they can use that will fit their budget rather than paying for 4 or 5 different platforms out there.
Yeah, I think you're obviously you're reading it accurately that there's been some hesitation in the marketplace, but speaking to a lot of people who have been in the solar industry or the solar coaster for a long time, they realize this is just likely a passing phase. And the appetite for power and energy is going nowhere except for needing more of it. And there's really a call for more hands on deck of every industry. So, it's not about picking one energy winner. They're all going to be required to deliver at the end of the day for the demand of the public and humanity. So I think the solar industry is going to have a really great bounce back. And it sounds like you guys are well positioned for that. For the company itself, what do you guys believe you do really, really well in being able to service your clients and customers?
A lot of things. One of the big things that we're doing is obviously creating that streamlined workflow, not making it complicated, but still giving it that AI powered feel. The other thing is our white glove service that we provide to all of our customers, allowing them to have someone to actually talk to, not a robot basically. But the biggest thing is that when we spent so much time building out the foundation of this software to allow us to customize and pivot and add different modules and plugins, as we call it, to continually build out the software to allow for more of those widgets and things that will be needed eventually later on down.
Yeah, as I speak to you, and we also understand that we're in the AI revolution as we speak. And it's a massive trend that's influencing every aspect of this sector, but also of business in general. And it sounds like because you guys have been working on this for 2 years, you're really in that sweet spot. And even delaying taking it to the marketplace, I think does play in your advantage because now you've built a technology that is really on the cutting edge, likely, of AI. And as AI continues to advance strongly in the next 12 to 24 months, it sounds like your technology is adaptable, robust enough that you can seamlessly drop in upgrades so that, the feature that you go live with on the hard start in January, we'll probably see many iterations throughout the next, 12 to 24 months. Am I reading that correctly?
Absolutely. And, we've been blessed with a very great development team and our headed by our CTO, Shiva. They've been working with AI. AI has been around for quite some time, but they've been working in it in the space, and that it really has allowed us to get to where we are. And, the joke is we could say, hey, once we do this, we're done with software, but software is never really done. You can't ever be done with software. There's always developments. There's always new things to make it better. You're absolutely correct. That's one of the forefronts of what we want to do is make sure that we're constantly innovating and making this product as good as we could possibly make it.
Great. You're being in the soft start and launch right now. So, what's been some of that early feedback from potentially I would imagine your ideal customer? So, if you could explain who your ideal customer is and what they have been suggesting in the soft launch as the feedback.
So our ideal customer is anyone that's in the solar space that utilizes multiple platforms, which is pretty much everyone in this space. Everyone needs that design tool to be able to really show a homeowner, what the system's going to look like, what the production's going to be, the savings, things like that. And so that we cover a lot of the market with that. But again, our ideal customer is right now using, a CRM, a project management tool, lead management, getting leads. They're using a lot of different systems to try to give them the best edge in the field, and being able to bring that all into one platform, they really have noticed, again, the efficiency, like we've kind of mentioned a lot, but at the same time, the cost savings. And so allowing us to bring all of that data under one roof, that's the next piece that's really going to allow them to grow, is being able to go back through, analyze the data, know what's working, know what's not working, and having all that under one roof rather than having to manually transfer it and potentially forgetting or messing it up, or having to create all these different webhooks that don't talk to each other or make it more difficult for things to move forward.
Yeah, sounds great. As you guys roll out the hard launch in January, what does your go-to-market strategy look like?
So one of the big pushes that we've been doing over the last couple months is bringing on a very robust advisory board. And so our three directors have been in this industry combined almost 30 plus years. And solar is very big, but you find out very quickly it's very niche, and everyone kind of knows everyone, or it's a one-off. And so our initial advisors that we brought on are very facing in the solar industry, as far as they're known very well. And so between them and our directors, they have a lot of contacts, which have initially given us that first look with a lot of people. And what we have found is that's really all we need. There's been a lot of tools and things in the solar industry that people have tried to bring on. So they're used to the, sales pitch, things like that. But once we actually get that door open and show them what we've done and where we're going, it's been accepted very graciously with open hands and open arms. So that's going to be our initial go-to-market with those. Like I mentioned, the trade shows that we're going to be doing and our social media presence is going to be great. But at the end of the day, it's a door knocking industry. And that's also what we're going to be doing. A lot of warm and cold calling, showing up to people's offices, getting in front of people. That's what they appreciate. That's what we appreciate. And we've done it a lot. So that's where we're going to be going.
Through your experience with that being the focus, do you see any challenges happening with that manual outreach, or does it fit really the speed and the scale that you guys want to move forward? Well, what's the analysis there?
Yeah. So, why we're taking these multiple pronged approaches is we want to keep as many, irons in the fire as possible. Granted, the biggest hurdle we're going to have to overcome is moving people away from what they're used to and showing them where the future is going. And so that's going to take a lot of hand holding and a lot of, getting in front of people and spending time with them and showing them the benefits of it all. But once we have overcome that, that's when we're really going to see that rapid growth move forward.
Yeah, I think education, when you bring new shiny objects into any industry, there's a level of education required. So opening doors is first, then educating, and then brand awareness. So as you look forward, let's say over the next 6 to 12 months, what are the strategic priorities for you in your role and also for the company?
Obviously, at the end of the day, the financing and money is going to help propel anything. So we've, partnered up and are working through with a couple venture capitalist firms, being able to provide that money to really have our full build out for customer support and the whole structure of the company. That's going to be one of our biggest priorities at the very beginning. But to that, having a couple of big players in the space adopt a platform and using it on a day-to-day basis is also going to help us give us that brand awareness that you are talking about, and also being able to bring on some of these finance companies that are a little harder to get to, but I think once they have seen what we're doing, they're going to want to be a part of it too.
And for those ideal case studies, give me an example of like a company, the size, what they're up to, that would really be your like strategic ideal partner there.
So one of the companies that we are talking to that we have very good relations with is called Our World Energy. They are one of the largest installers in the space. Have a very good name to them. They have amazing people that are working a lot of that back office behind the scenes. Great leadership, and so those would be the ideal partner because at the end of the day, we want to keep evolving our technology to make sure that it's fitting across the board. And they have a lot of use cases and a lot of people that would use it, be able to give us positive feedback, whether we need to change something or tweak it. And having that open line of communication at the end of the day, we want our software to match what they need. And they have been gracious enough already. And I know that is only going to continue to build as the time goes on.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like there's a lot of things that are really working well for you guys leading up to this moment. You've got some great partnerships. You've got a strategic plan moving forward. What would be on the flip side of that, maybe some of the frustrating or time consuming or challenges that you perceive that are going to be needing to overcome in order to execute on your plans here?
Honestly, at the end of the day, the main thing that we're worried about is the need over exceeding our capacity. And if too many people really want to jump on the system a lot faster than our monetary budget has, that's going to be, I think, one of the issues we're going to have to overcome. That's going to be done through financing or raising money, things like that. But that has its own headaches with it too. So we're going to keep that fundraising ball rolling and just preparing for that opportunity when it comes.
What would be the result of too many people wanting to adopt? Would it be because there's an education side required in order to implement the software and train the new clients to use it effectively? That's going to be a little bit of a longer process at the beginning until either the education or the training is all really set up and working smooth.
Beauties of our software is it's actually very straightforward. It's only two steps and very minimal inputs. We have automated a lot of it through AI and through our partners that we've used. So the education is not necessarily going to be the problem. I think it's going to be more of our back office support and being able to customize it exactly how an EPC would want it to go moving forward. And that just requires people. Hiring the people, salaries, things like that. That is going to be more of the holdup. I think as far as our testing has gone and things like that. I mean, we've put people in front of the system that have never used it, never seen it before, and they've figured it out within 10 to 15 minutes. So that was the beauty of that. It's just going to be more of having that support staff to be able to onboard these people efficiently.
So as you kind of then look towards the future and the hard launch comes in January, so 2026 is obviously a big year for you guys. Where do you see this impact in the industry as you look out like 3 to 5 years from now?
The impact in the industry is, I think we're now going to see a lot of people going for more of these robust platforms, not just kind of a one tool fits all type situation, which I think is currently out there. Like I was talking about before, most people are paying for a proposal tool, then they're paying for a CRM, then they're paying for project management, and so on and so forth. I think what a lot of people are going to see is the power of data and the power of owning that data and knowing how to utilize it to your benefit. And so as we scale, as we make our footprint in this industry, people are going to realize that, you know, this is actually very important, and it's going to allow them to do things with their businesses that they haven't been able to do before.
I love it. I think it's a real game changer. I think the more efficient we can make a business owner's life, and the more value that creates in the marketplace. And I agree with you that the efficiency with the AI contribution, let's say in the last 12 months, maybe the last like 2 years, but what is really going to be in the next 2 years is going to highlight companies that provide all of those solutions under one banner, rather than three or four things that all needed to be done in the past because they were really isolated ecosystems, and now bringing it into one. So I think what you're identifying there is also a part of the larger economy. There's going to be like, if you can help solve a lot of problems all at once, you're going to really stand out. And it sounds like you guys are really being able to do that.
And two, I mean, absolutely, you nailed it perfectly. And on top of that, too, it's also going to be a huge benefit to the homeowner, because now the homeowner system is going to be running how it should run rather than someone kind of just guessing. And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, these are so complex systems, such complex systems, and there's a lot of data points that go into it that most humans just won't be able to comprehend. But AI being able to go through the different databases and making sure things are set the way that they're supposed to be set to, it's going to save them much more money too in the future as well, especially as these panels get developed further and more efficient as well. It's just going to be this snowball effect that's going to have a more of a positive impact on the solar industry.
Yeah, I think the solar industry and Solentrx within it have a very bright future. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast, Michael. Before we wrap up here, why don't you tell our audience where they can get a hold of you for more information, the website, all the things that you want to share on the socials?
Absolutely. So LinkedIn and Instagram kind of our two big social media platforms. So at Solentrx, Solentrx.com. So Solentrx is an X-ray.com. Have a lot of things there. You can message me directly on LinkedIn if you want to. Otherwise, we do have a contact me form on the website as well.
Perfect. I will, of course, put all of those into the show notes, folks, so you can get a hold of them there. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, if you've learned a few things, why don't you hit a like and subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody that might want to be interested in being one of the new customers of Solentrx come 2026. Michael, would you like to close with any final words?
No, we're happy to be on this podcast. Really, really excited. Really thankful for my team. That's been the main reason we've gotten to where we're gotten, and why we're going to continue to excel in this space.
Excellent. Thanks for being on the show, Michael. So there you have it, folks. Another episode of the Blue Ocean Solutions podcast. We'll see you on the next one.